Hello and welcome to hour number 2 of Newsmax Now. I'm John Bachman.
And I'm Miranda Kahn. Coming up on Newsmax Now, the Clinton Foundation admits it may have made some bookkeeping mistakes, but what does the organization plan to do now that its transgressions are out in the open? Midpoint's host Ed Berliner joins us now to discuss.
And Olympian and reality TV star Bruce Jenner reveals another shocking revelation: his political party of preference. We'll talk about that coming up.
Plus, author John Casey joins us to talk about climate change and a new study Duke University just did. It's 1 p.m. here on the East Coast, but no matter where you are, it's time for Newsmax Now.
And we welcome you into our second hour. Miranda, let's get started with our top of the hour headlines right now. And we will start with a search in Nepal after Saturday's devastating earthquake. The death toll continues to rise today. Crews have been tearing through rubble left behind by the quake, trying to pull out anyone who still may be alive. Officials say that death toll has already soared past 3,700, including at least 3 Americans. Help is pouring in from around the world, but it's also overloading a little airport there in Kathmandu. India says 4 of its planes loaded with rescuers and gear had to turn back because there was no place for that plane to land.
Baltimore police say they've received death threats from gang members after a black man died while in police custody. This comes as thousands attend the funeral for Freddie Gray. He died just over a week ago after suffering a spinal cord injury. Over the weekend, protest in Baltimore turned very violent. Crowds could be seen smashing cars, like you see right here, looting a convenience store and throwing tables and chairs through storefront windows. Police say they arrested 34 people. 6 officers suffered minor injuries.
Tough to watch. Defense lawyers for the Boston Marathon bomber are trying to convince a jury now to spare his life. Yohar Tsarnaev's legal team has begun laying out its case in the penalty phase of this trial. Tsarnaev was convicted earlier this month on all 30 counts. More than half of those counts carry the possibility of the death penalty. The Supreme Court is getting ready to hear arguments in a pivotal case over same-sex marriage. The case could force 14 states where same-sex marriage is now illegal to allow those marriages. Justices Antonin Scalia and Clarence Thomas have already predicted that the court will likely legalize same-sex weddings across the country.
Also getting underway today, the trial of James Holmes. His defense team is arguing Holmes was insane when he opened fire in a suburban Denver movie theater 3 years ago. 12 people died, 70 were injured. Some family members of the victims say justice can't come soon enough.
The real justice is going to happen when this animal leaves this earth.
Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty.
Some of the negotiations around Iran's nuclear deal are shifting to New York today. Secretary of State John Kerry and his Iranian counterpart are talking at the UN today. They're meeting on the sidelines of a UN conference on nuclear weapons ahead of that June 30th deadline that is getting closer every day. This comes as the bill the Congress is talking about to review that deal, written by Senator Bob Corker, is getting ready to hit the Senate floor. It's facing challenges from several so-called poison pill amendments, including one from presidential candidate Marco Rubio. He would require Iran to recognize Israel. President Obama is naive about Iran. At least that's what former President George W. Bush is saying. He spoke to a group of Jewish donors Saturday night. Bush, who rarely criticizes the president in public, says Obama is putting the U.S. in retreat around the world. Presidential candidate Ted Cruz also spoke to that group and says the next president may face an Iran on the verge of having that dreaded nuclear weapon.
Which candidate as commander-in-chief would be willing to act decisively to ensure that under no circumstances ever does Iran acquire nuclear weapons?
Also attending the event, former Texas Governor Rick Perry spoke at that meeting. He says the Obama administration is isolating Israel.
The Clinton Foundation now admits to some bookkeeping mistakes. The acting CEO of the foundation says mistakes were made on how its donors were disclosed. She promises to fix the problem in a recent blog post. The foundation's donors have come under scrutiny with Hillary Clinton now that she's running for president. She's dismissed any allegations. President Obama poked fun at his former Secretary of State during the White House Correspondents' Dinner Saturday night. The president teased Hillary Clinton, saying she used to make millions of dollars, but now she lives out of this van in Iowa. Mr. Obama also took shots at his vice president, asking the crowd if they've ever been on the receiving end of a Joe Biden shoulder rub.
And welcome back into Newsmax Now. John Bachman, Miranda Kahn, Ed Berliner from Midpoint and Hardline, soon to be released news show coming up in the primetime hours, is here with us.
9 o'clock Eastern Time, starting tomorrow night.
We're all excited, Ed,
Yeah.
excited about the expansion. And also, any insight on the Joe Biden shoulder rubs? I know you had one way back.
No, I
in the
have
day.
not. I have
No.
not had a Joe
That was-
Biden shoulder rub.
that was
I have
a
not had
rumor?
any shoulder rubs in recent memory, although I am now going to go out and purchase a set of them just to have them. I want
Okay.
them here in the studio right before the show.
They're always good to have to get yourself warmed up for the show.
I think John's going to volunteer for you. Just kidding.
Thanks, Miranda. Okay, gee,
Yeah.
now for some more uncomfortable moments here. Let's
Anyway,
move ahead.
Let's segue naturally to our next topic.
There you go.
The
Go ahead, love. I wanna see you make
awkwardness
this one.
of having a former president criticize a sitting president on foreign policy. If this, in fact, turns out to be true, what do you make of this?
I mean, as far as Bush coming after President Obama?
Sure.
It's something that you don't really see a lot, simply because usually you don't have presidents say much about sitting presidents. They want to stay away from it. But I think in this case, George Bush has a good point. However, there are those who would say, but wait a minute, George Bush is one of the presidents, and I do say one of the presidents who put us in this problem in the first place. Barack Obama just made it a whole lot worse. I think that it's the interesting thing to come out of this is not that George Bush is going after the president, but the fact that George Bush has said that he will not campaign for Jeb. He wants to stay off the campaign trail because he thinks that the American people have had enough of dynasties. Interesting seeing that he is part of one of those dynasties, but I think it's a smart move.
Yeah, his public opinion polling numbers have risen dramatically since he left office, as one would expect, but maybe not at the point yet where he is an asset out on the campaign trail.
No, he's
And
not.
he was hugely absent from 2008, too, on the campaign trail, could not go out there. And a lot of folks are wondering this time around if that's what President Obama is going to be in that same situation with his approval numbers so low. Will he be absent from the 2016 campaign trail?
Well, look at what happened here, because basically Jeb Bush has come out many times and said, I don't want to be seen as my brother.
Right.
I have no desire to be so this is how you do it. You cut the cord and you walk away from the brother. You start to set your own case. Will he be able to? No, of course not. The American public will always look at Jeb Bush and they will see George, they will see the father,
Right.
they will see everybody else in a dynasty.
Hillary's
Which is
kinda
why I
doing
think
the
he
same
has.
thing.
Hillary is exactly the same thing, although the arrogance factor in the Clinton camp is
Let's-
eons higher than anything else could possibly be in the Bush era.
Let's talk about the Clinton camp. Our Newsmax CEO, Chris Ruddy, penning an op-ed piece. It's available on Newsmax.com right now in defense of the Clinton Foundation. Quote, I have been involved with the foundation for over 7 years now. During that time, I've always found it nonpartisan. I've never felt the whiff of politics from either its staff or any of its activities. You're going to talk to Chris coming up here later today?
Chris is going to be a guest with us. We'll discuss that as a matter of fact. And he brings up a very good point. I mean, I think the question was asked over the weekend on one of the Sunday talkers, where is the smoking gun?
Right.
Now, that's what everybody wants to see. Show me something that was done illegally. Show me proof of it, and then we can move ahead. However,
And guys,
you
one of
see a
the-
little here and a little here and a little here. It's a breadcrumb. It's that trail of breadcrumbs that is leading to the Clintons constantly. And a lot of it
Right.
comes down certainly with this IRS filing now that comes back. Oh, gee, we're going to go back and amend everything from years past. It still doesn't sit with the American people, but they want to see that break of the law. They want to see that error there, and we haven't seen it yet, not even in Schweitzer's book, though we still have a lot to
This
learn.
whole conversation that has dominated the press corps over the last few days is all about a book which isn't even released yet, too.
Right.
Let's not forget about that little fact.
And you and I both know, and we all know.
We're going to be releasing a book about Bush as well. So
Well,
that's a
exactly.
book,
We've been around books for a long time. We've been around authors who do this. Not everything has come out at this point. You know that
Right.
there are things that they're holding back. The big question is, I think Chris Wallace is the one who asked it. Where is the smoking gun? Tell us exactly where it is. Maybe we'll see it. Now, again, Schweitzer's going to have to come out, and if he's going to actually do, which he will, the book about Bush, he's going to have to be just as critical, or else that partisanship will walk into this every single time.
And Schweitzer certainly has chummed the waters with this book. Now it's up to Congress, I guess, to investigate, and we know she'll be back before the Special Select Committee on Benghazi. Will this overtake that? Will Congress be able to stay focused on all this stuff like
Breadcrumbs.
like a kitty cat with
Breadcrumbs.
too many balls of yarn up there on
Breadcrumbs.
the table?
That's what it is. It's a little breadcrumb here and there. And if you've got to cut off the breadcrumbs, and maybe that's the way to stop all this speculation. But that'll never happen.
Real quickly, I want to talk about what's coming up on your show today. A new bill that would force the feds to respect state laws of marijuana. What's coming up?
It's a big argument right now. Can the feds tell the states what to do about medicinal marijuana? That, Chris Ruddy, and a whole lot more. 2 o'clock Eastern.
All right, sounds good. Ed, always good to have you.
Thanks. Pleasure to be here.
We're coming back with more here on Newsmax Now right after this short commercial break.